At the end of a MotoGP race, no one wants to hear the rider blame the bike for their poor performance. But sometimes, is it the bike? Welcome back to another edition of 2025 MotoGP Midterm Report Cards, and if you haven't guessed it already, today we're talking about factory Yamaha. But before we dig in, if you could please like, follow, share, subscribe, mash all the buttons so you get all the MotoGP content you can possibly imagine. And fun fact, we respond to almost every single comment, so come talk some MotoGP with us. It's why we're here. So let's dig in. Let's talk about factory Yamaha. We have Fabio Quartararo and we have Alex Rins. At the beginning, this pairing seemed like a match made in heaven. Has it been that way? Well, not really, and especially not for one of these guys. But let's start with Fabio Quartararo. And we have some numbers to run through here. First of all, so far he's 9th overall in the points. Obviously, his best race so far was that Silverstone that he was leading by 4.5 seconds before the bike gave out. We're going to be talking a lot about that. He had a 2nd place in Jerez. He had a 3rd into the sprint in Germany, a 4th in the sprint in France. He's had 4 pole positions. So, it looks like the Yamaha is making a little bit of progress, right? I mean, especially in the qualifying. Is Fabio Quartararo back to this whiz kid that he was in 2019 where he was competing with Marc Marquez for pole positions and fighting at the front? Well, when you look at the Jerez race, you look at that 2nd place from pole position and you go, wow, that's not half bad. I mean, that's where we really want the Yamaha, fighting at the sharp end. Did it look like he was going to win that race? Not really. I think the Ducatis outmatched him, but progress. Were we talking about a Yamaha fighting for 2nd, fighting for pole at all last year? Hell no, we weren't. Not even a little bit. So you got to think, all right, that looks like a little bit of progress. And then let's look at the other pole positions to race finishes that Fabio has had this year. In the British Grand Prix, pole position to DNF. Again, ride height device malfunctions, not his fault as the rider. DNF. France, pole position to DNF, obviously super, super tricky conditions. And then Assen, pole position to 10th place. Really, really went backwards in that race. So we have to see the good and the bad. Yes, they're getting into Q2. Yes, they're competing better in that regard than they were last year. 1 lap speed doesn't seem to be a problem, but they go backwards in races. Even Fabio Quartararo, who is far and away the best Yamaha rider this year, I don't think that's controversial to say, even he just goes backwards in races. It doesn't seem like he can attack anyone. It doesn't seem like he can defend anything. He's not passing anyone. He's just kind of a victim once he gets in a pack. If, like in the British Grand Prix, he can get out to the front and run his own lap time all by himself and no one's in the way, on a track that he's good at and they have grip, there's a lot of ifs there. But if all those things line up, we see performances like he was having in the UK. He can still ride this bike very, very fast. So you have to ask yourself, what were our expectations for young Fabio? Well, my expectations for Fabio Quartararo this year are he has to be in the top 10 in practice every single week. He has to go straight through to Q2 all the time. None of this will he, won't he make it. He's got to find 1 lap speed in practice and get the bike set up properly. He's doing that for the most part. He needs to be fighting and qualifying for the first 2 rows. He's doing that and even doing a little better than that for the most part. And yes, he had a slow start to the season. We'll talk about that. And then he needs to fight for top 6s in the race. He's not doing that as much as I'd like, but there you go. And then lastly, I think he has to stay on the bike, which he has done again for the most part. So overall, Fabio has either met or exceeded my expectations for this year. I mean, if you look at the numbers again, he's 50 points ahead of Jack Miller, who's the 2nd Yamaha. He's 60 points ahead of his teammate, Alex Rins. So he's, again, the best rider flying the flag for Yamaha. So when we look at this, again, we go, all right, is there poor performance? The fact that he's sitting 9th in the championship and not 6th or 7th? Is it the rider or the bike? You can call me a Fabio fanboy if you want, but it's the bike. Come on. It's the bike. I think most of us agree if Fabio was on a more competitive motorcycle, he would be farther up in these standings, and I don't think that's all that controversial, except for those of you who hate him. there's been some of you in the comments that just, for whatever reason, you hate Fabio Quartararo, and there's nothing I can say that is going to get you over that hump, so I'm not even going to try. For me, it's the bike. The rider is doing a pretty phenomenal job. For the most part. Yes, he's had some trip-ups. He even admitted he was pushing too hard at Aragon. Was it Aragon? Yeah, pushing too hard at Aragon, a track that he should go well at. Didn't really do a great job, DNF in that race. So he has had his missteps. I mean, France was tricky, Aragon pushing too hard. But what can you do? You're going to have some down weeks. Well, speaking of down weeks, now we have to talk about Alex Rins. I mean, I kind of almost don't want to because I love Alex Rins. I want the Alex Rins of old. I want Alex Rins of the 2019 Silverstone Grand Prix, one of my favorite MotoGP races in all of history. I want that guy. We're not getting that guy. Right now, 18th overall. No double-digit point weekends this season. I mean, we said this about Joan Mir. We have to say this about Alex Rins. Not a single one. He is basically right now performing about as well as Mir is, except for Rins just stays on the bike more. They're only averaging a few points a race. Just Mir falls off more, has more DNFs. And, I mean, if you want to say who has worse luck between Rins and Mir, good luck with that conversation because, I don't know. And the guy's talented, right? I mean, this guy on the Suzuki was competitive. He wins a race at COTA on a Honda that no one could ride. So, like, what is going on with Alex Rins? 19th, 18th overall. What is going on? Is it still the injury? We see him limpy a little bit around the paddock. Is it the injury? He says no, the leg isn't his excuse. He's not gelling with this bike. That doesn't make sense to me. He should love the inline four. Coming from Suzuki, yes, he was over at Honda, but coming over from Suzuki and riding that inline four again at Yamaha, it should fit his riding style. It must be the lack of grip or the braking stability or something. It just isn't working at all. His confidence is down. His riding style isn't really fitting. And he's even saying himself, like, it's not quite gelling to how much, horsepower is going to that rear wheel. He's getting way too much wheel spin. He just can't be fast. I'll be shocked if Yamaha keeps Alex Rins on the factory team, which again is super sad for me because I love Rins. I love watching him ride when he's riding at the top of his game. But forget top of his game. He's not riding in the middle of his game. He's finishing and qualifying so far down every single week, we almost forget he exists. You look at these teams and you look at like Aprilia, Marco Bezzecchi, an injured Jorge Martin, right? There's a reason Jorge Martin isn't scoring points. Yamaha, Fabio Quartararo, 9th place. Okay, not a top 5, but 9th place. Alex Rins, 60 points back. Like, I mean, does he even need to ride the bike on the weekend? Maybe he's giving them some data, but man, doesn't really feel competitive. Okay, enough beating him up. I'm sorry, Alex, I love you, but man, it's been rough this season to watch. The team, Yamaha, factory team, 6th place in the standings. Now, to be fair, this is kind of where I expected them to be. I expected them to be behind all the Ducati teams, and I expected them to be behind KTM and Aprilia. The one thing I didn't expect is once Jorge Martin went down, I kind of thought Yamaha could leapfrog them, factoring in that only Bezzecchi is riding the Aprilia, but that hasn't happened. So that's massively disappointing. And the biggest blame I'm going to give this team, and I'm going to talk about it, I've already mentioned it, is this ride height device debacle. Ride height gate from Silverstone. You stole a win from your own team. Yamaha has never had reliability issues. And in the same race, Fabio Quartararo loses a win, a clear-cut 4.5-second victory gets taken from his hands. And in the same exact race, Alex Rins had the same thing happen to him on the last lap. Lost 2 more positions that way. How does this happen? I mean, I think the cold weather a little bit in the UK was blamed, but that can't happen to both of your riders in the same race. That's just freaky. Yes, it feels like a fluke, but you have to lay that all at the team. There's nothing the riders can do to make the ride height device not malfunction. They were trying to trigger it. You saw Fabio Quartararo jamming on the brakes. He had 4 seconds to give Bez. He was trying to unlock that before he finally gave up the goat, said no more. So I think you have to really throw that at their feet, but then we have some positives. We've seen speed from this bike that we hadn't seen in previous seasons. We've seen competitiveness, especially on a Saturday. I mean, Quartararo in sprints historically has been terrible. Better this year. Not great, better. Jack has found some speed on this bike. I mean, he's been damn impressive on this bike. It was the fastest Yamaha for the first few weeks of the season. So they're making strides, but, you know, if you look where they started in the season, I mean, look at Fabio's qualifying in Thailand. 10th, he finishes 15th. Qualifying in Argentina, 7th, he finishes 14th. Qualifying in the US, he starts 11th, finishes 10th. They're doing better in the back half of the season. The bike has gotten better. So I know there's some people out there saying, the bike just seems to have gotten worse and worse and worse. I don't think so. I think where they started, it wasn't going to get a whole lot worse. It actually went better than that. Fabio got in his groove, found a way to ride this bike, and was riding it to pole position. So I don't think they've gotten worse. They just also haven't improved all that much. And it's the same thing we've been hearing since 2017. Rear grip, rear grip, rear grip. Everyone wants to focus on the inline 4 versus the V4, but it doesn't feel like they can get the power to the ground. Now, maybe a V4 will help with the balance and how it puts out power. That'll help them a little bit. But right now, that's really their main problem, because it feels like Alex Rins complains about it. Fabio Quartararo is always mentioning it. They just can't get the power to the ground. And it doesn't help them out of the corner. If you have wheel spin out of the corner, that's why they can't overtake anyone. Even if Fabio makes a move into the corner on the brakes, he can't hold it coming out and down, especially along straightaway. Now, what contributes to this lack of grip, this problem they keep having? I think it's because they have a dual problem, right? They have a problem that they're low on horsepower, low on top speed, and low on grip. So you try to fix the top speed. You try to give them more horsepower, you get more wheel spin. Try to add some more aero, you're pushing more air, you lose top speed. And so they're trying to fix both of these problems at the same time, and it's kind of a seesaw of impending doom. At least that's my analysis from the untrained eye. I'm not a motorcycle expert. I just watch the races like you and I try to pay attention. So one of the things that I think Yamaha might be doing this year that's a little ill-advised, but I also don't know what other choice they have, is I think they're doing too much. Right? They're trying to develop a bike that has an inline 4 to compete this year, to compete now. They're trying to develop a V4 to compete maybe next year. The team boss is saying we're going to be on a V4 next season. Fabio Quartararo doesn't like that idea. That's a whole other video. And then they're having to develop a bike for 2027 in the new regulations. That's a lot to take on as a factory, even one as big and powerful and successful as Yamaha. So they may just need more chefs in that kitchen, or they may need to focus their energies on something else. What do they care about? Do they care about winning this year and next? If I was them, I would maybe put a little more in my current season basket and my next season basket, hoping that we can retain the services of Fabio Quartararo in 2027, then worry about that bike down the road. It's ill-advised long-term, but let's steal a championship from Ducati where everyone else is looking forward. Let's look now. And I know development's frozen. Don't come after me. You don't even know anything you're talking about. I get it. But there are things they can do. They have concessions. There are things they can do to improve the bike for next year and try to win a championship right now. That would be wild, but it would be fun to watch. Okay, anyway, let's get to the grades. For Fabio Quartararo, I'm giving him an A-. Now, I almost made this a B+. And part of the reason it's an A- is the qualifying, the pole positions. I didn't expect that from him this year. I really didn't. That is so far and above where I expected the Yamaha. I was thinking, man, if this bike could get itself on the front 2 rows, finish in the top 10, steal a top 6, that would be fantastic. He's stealing pole positions, and he stole a second place in Jerez. He's had sprint podiums. A-. That B+ turns into A-. Plus, I like Fabio, and I'm defending him against all the haters, so screw y'all. A-. Overall, on the Alex Rins side, I'm giving Alex Rins a D+. And the really the reason, the way I factored this is I looked at his results and I looked at Mir's results. And I gave Mir a D, and I'm giving Alex the plus because he's just fallen off less. That's it. 10 points ahead of Mir because he's fallen off less. That was my entire scientific discussion there with myself. And for the grade of the team, I'm giving them a C-. I wanted to grade them higher because the qualifying has been good. I wanted to put them mid-C, maybe C+. They aren't there yet. They're going faster than they've ever gone. They're making progress. They're doing the right things. They're saying the right things. They're developing a lot of things. But the ride height device, I can't get over it. I can't get over you stealing 25 points from yourself. Yes, shit happens. Yes, any bike can have a mechanical failure at any given moment. But it's the results we come here for. It's the celebration I wanted to have with Fabio Quartararo for the British Grand Prix, and the team robbed it from all of us. How dare they? But they are trying. C- a little below expectations as far as race results, great qualifying, and a very, very famous mechanical failure. Who knows where they go from here? Hopefully up in the second half of the season. But what did you think? There it goes. That's all the grades for the Yamaha factory team. We've got 2 more factory teams left this week, and then we are back to racing in Austria, thank goodness. Stay tuned for the rest.